friends, how are you doing? Let's get started here. The daily conversation with Sofi. What's going on? This is such a change of events from what we're looking at right now with this market, because last week it was like, well, this is it. This is the end. It's done. It was a good year. It was good. It's not. It was good knowing everybody. And now it is completely like, dude, we are ending the year above 7,000 points in the S&P 500 for sure. I mean, this is, I literally just, of course, Monday, Tuesday, we had good days in the market here. Really good days. I mean, this is what I've been talking about. This is why I've been like, be careful selling out of your positions and taking loss. This is maybe a moment to buy, because, the money. This is what Wall Street did. Look what they did. This one little news thing came out over the weekend, and boom, it looks like we're getting rate cuts. Boom, the market buys. Wall Street buys right back in, and now things are back up. Some things are, back to expensive levels here, and it's like, people are like, I should have bought. But this stupid stuff out here of like, it's an AI bubble. It's not an AI bubble, right? I've gotten mad about this so many times, but like, how can it be an AI bubble when all the AI companies just reported great quarterlies, and all these new ones as well are finding revenue? I get the conversation, the argument that they're spending money back in each other, this circle. I get that. They're allocating money back in each other, the old money. But there's a lot of new money out there as well. Microsoft, all from the top down, there's a lot going on. So when they start to show signs of not bringing as much, not doing as well, the MAG, everything's doing fantastic here. So I don't know, man. Just be careful listening to negative Nancy's out there. There's still money in the market, and the market's still going to run hot here. But I've been listening to a lot of people on Wall Street this morning, trying to listen to all the updated interviews here, Tom Lee's, Dan Ives, all the other stock channel, just people that are actually in Wall Street talking to CEOs, seeing what's going on, where people are trading, what they're doing. And the sentiment right now is that the S&P 500 should end. We're still pushing for it should end above this 7,000 point range here somewhere by the end of the year, in December. So especially for them, looks like getting this rate cut. Now, what this means here is that obviously October 10th was the last big crash we had in the market before this most recent one that we've gone through here, November 20th. Now, like I said, this is a completely turn of events. So now the market is pumping money right back into it. Low cap stocks, mid stocks, big stocks, the MAG, everything is trying to run back up. Some things are running hotter than, expected. And it really, bank stocks obviously are liking the news, what's going on, because rate cut. That's, it's like throwing chum in the water. Bank stocks are going to feed off of that like crazy. That's what they want to hear, cheaper money for a cheaper rate. And, that's going to do well for them, because people are going to go after that opportunity. I am very much in the bullish cycle right now, to where I think 2026 could be another great year for tech stocks. It could be another great year for bank stocks, to where, we're going to have another year of, what does the S&P 500 look like in May? Is it 7,200, 7,300? Do we have an all-time push here into January, and then we fall back down to a little bit of around 68, 69, S&P 500 being the new high? And then we start trailing up again from there. What does this look like? How far does this conversation turn around just from last week? And then the other kicker with that, the Feds, obviously, Jerome's out. We'll have a new chairman. It'll be someone who will do rate cuts immediately as soon as they're allowed to. With that, we know that the Treasury has been talking about turning on the printing money, essentially. What is that going to look like? What's that going to do for inflation? What does inflation do organically next year? Economically, where do we go? See, there's a lot here. But I think there's more positive right now than there is negative, and I think that's a lot we have to go on. You have to understand, there's a lot of people that make a lot of money off drama in the market. They want you to sell your shares. They want you to have fear in the market. the longer you're in the market and you go through seasons in the market, you will find out very fast that people are there are these things in the market that they want you to sell. They want you to take a loss. They want you to say, you don't want a bag hold. You're going to lose more. Just sell what you got now and get out. And it's like, because I saw this last week, the past 2 weeks, I saw people leaving comments. They were like, you know what? I'm just going to sell my SoFi. I'm going to lose X this. And, I think it's done. I think it's done. You've led me astray. And now SoFi's back up in this 28 zone, trying to get to 29. We could be at 30 by Friday next week. Depending on where the market goes here, the market's showing signs of wanting to run even stronger. So, man, I just patience. Patience is an expensive lesson. It really is, and I want to see everyone do well in the market. And right now, trying to get into the conversation with SoFi here. I want to talk about Applied Digital too, because I've been getting a lot of comments about it. But friends, really think about where SoFi, what it can achieve next year. I've said so much about this stock that obviously there are so many more positives with SoFi as a company, as a stock, as this fierce competitor in future markets with banks. And it already is. It's showing very strong signs of it's going to be an extreme problem for other banks here in the future, because they're pushing into technology. They're doing great things. But really think about where this could go. I mean, I've made several videos here, where I think that SoFi could, two things. It could pass Robinhood in quarterlies. I think there's a very real argument that could happen. I love Robinhood. I'm not saying anything negative about it, but I think that could happen here, at least by Q1 of next year. Second is that SoFi could start to get very expensive here going into, next year with more rate cuts. The next quarterly, what do we know? More than likely, the next quarterly is going to be over $1 billion. So it's going to be $1 billion plus quarterly. Okay, what does that look like to Wall Street? When Wall Street finally sees that SoFi has released $1 billion plus quarterly, what do they think about that? I know what we think about that. We think this is great, but we've been buying in already. Is that when we start to see larger buys into SoFi at that point? What happens with this point forward? At that point forward, these are things that are going to start to occur next year. Does S&P 500 conversations start to come up? A lot thicker here. This could get expensive. Look at the recovery on SoFi. Right now, SoFi today, yesterday, Monday, it ran really well. Tuesday, it ran really, really well. And today, if we can get through Wednesday here, a little bit of information coming out today, but if we can see the market stay strong today, hey, there's some news right there. We don't care too much. We're getting rate cuts. We're going to keep going this way. We're going to keep looking forward here. Will SoFi undoubtedly just kind of push into Friday, into Monday? Right now, the stock is wanting to run. There's definitely no doubt about that. When we talk about can the stock price go higher right now, I think obviously a lot of it's going to depend on the market's looking for the next move. And the market may make the next move before this rate cut shows itself. Because, essentially still got 2 weeks before we find out what happens here, if it's actually going to happen. Now, if it does happen, the Fed say, hey, okay, we're going to do a rate cut. The market's going to do well here. But right now, the market is obviously still very tender. This was a deep cut that just happened to it. So it's still, the Band-Aid's still fresh on the wound here. But, when I think that obviously what people are asking here, is when will $40, when will $50 show up here with SoFi? Undoubtedly, this is going to be a $40, $50 stock here, before we know it. Personally, I think SoFi has as long as it keeps doing what it's doing here, I think there's plenty of argument to say that this could be anywhere from $60 to $90 stock here by this time next year. Think about what we're looking at here. But getting to the next big leg of this right now, rate cuts in December, going into New Year, January, start to go through quarterlies again, the Q4s here. But SoFi will have its Q4s here in the beginning of next year. And with that, when we finally see these $1 billion quarterlies, I'm very curious to see how aggressive they are, how Wall Street reacts to these, and going into this new year, do we start talking about, okay, I think we're looking at S&P 500 inclusion. SoFi will more than likely give more narrative about what's even going on with this new crypto side of things. They've just really unleashed to their customers and what can happen here. So I think 2026 is showing strong signs of, this could be the ultimate push, the push we've been looking for with SoFi. So I think that's really interesting here. Applied Digital is, this has been one of the best stocks I've called for myself personally, to be honest. But literally started the year here this as a $3, $4, $5 stock, and it's had an incredible run. Now, even when this went to like almost $40 here at just a month and a half ago, I was even at that point telling people like, hey, you are at your own concerns buying this right now. You're at your own risk. If the market keeps going up, this will probably keep climbing here, but this is incredible highs. So I don't know who took profit, who's been in it, what's left, where people are at right now with it. But, this is kind of where the conversation is starting to unfold here going into 2026. Okay, so obviously, if you've been in the market more than a few seasons, more than a few years here, you will probably notice that every year in the market there's a theme. There's just a theme to the markets. We've went through the EV theme, we went through Green Initiative, turning cornstarch into gasoline. Last year it was chips. This year it's been software security. Still chips, obviously, but next year obviously is going to compile, but it's going to push even more so into tech, but different elements of tech. I definitely think there's a huge argument to say that robotics are going to do a lot better in 2026. I swear this is, every time you hear Jensen, Sam, Elon, one of them say something, they are talking about robotics. So I swear this conversation is going to get even louder next year. One thing that is definitely taking off right now, and it's making companies money, it is 100% data center. Data centers are doing well. Nvidia just proved that 100%. Tesla, yes, but Amazon is pushing into this narrative incredibly. They're spending tons of money to make data centers. And Applied Digital here is essentially its own standing company of data, networking, all this kind of stuff. They're making money. They're making a lot of money. This is a real interesting place for Applied Digital, because the last quarterly they came out with here was huge. They're back up into this $60+ million quarterly range. So imagine what this could look like going into next year. Now, if Applied Digital starts to compound this new revenue stream of pushing into more, are they going to push up from here? Are they going to go into, 65 million, 70 million? It's kind of unknown right now. That's what I'm trying to say here, is because data centers are this whole new thing that are taking off. I literally remember having this conversation with my uncle at Christmas this time last year, where he was telling me about these data centers that are popping up, and they're just like these huge fields of just what they are. And I was like, yeah, they're actually like starting to get a lot of attention on the stock market. And Applied Digital was one of those companies that I was telling him about. And Applied Digital had an amazing run, amazing year. I really am curious to know, are we about to see even more of a mega year here for Applied Digital? I think there's an argument for sure that this could happen, 100%. It really leads a lot of questions. This is a new thing. It's a new company. It's a new push in the market. It's a new, zeitgeist movement moment in the market. Data centers right now are very popular stocks. But I do wonder, do they get even more popular going into next year? I don't know that we found the theme of 2026 yet. I don't know. It may take some time even getting into next year where we see things really pop with what is going to get a lot of attention. But I think there's a strong conversation for robotics. I think there's a strong conversation for data centers. There's a strong conversation for quantum computing. The cooling systems for data centers, stuff like this. It's gonna be one of them as the main focus, I feel like, but all of them will do well, 100%. So, friends, Applied Digital has fallen to this $20 zone. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. If Applied Digital can fall to, Lord willing at this point, $17, $18, it could be a steal if they continue to push up into these monumental quarterlies. This is what's so interesting because, I mean, even people like Jensen right now are saying like data centers are going to rack in money from here on out. I mean, there's such a high demand for these things. It's insane. So it's almost like this little untapped gold mine that a lot of people aren't really noticing, but certain investors are. So it's going to be an interesting play here with Applied Digital this year. I'm be excited about it. If you bought this company at 10, 15, even 18 at this point, you've had a radical year with this stock. So congratulations. And I'm curious to see what else we can do. Listen, what do we know? What have we learned here about Applied Digital? We know that people are willing to pay almost $40 a share for, well, they did at one point to pay that amount of money for Applied Digital. That's wild. That's wild. I mean, I remember talking about this stock this time last year, and some people were like, there's no way, it'll never touch 15. And when it went to 15, I was like, whoa. And then when it went past 15, I was like, okay, this is kind of crazy. And you can guess the rest. So friends, I want to wish you all the best of luck today, and let me know what you're doing here with Applied Digital. I'm curious to see what everybody's thoughts are on Applied Digital. Friends, take care of yourself. Bye bye.